You're listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Get the knowledge you need to advance your mortgage practice quickly and efficiently from Jen Duplessis, America's Mortgage Mastery mentor with over 37 years of experience and over $1 billion in lifetime fundings. Jen has been mentoring loan officers and realtors for over 15 years and speaking on stages across the globe. So settle in and get ready as Jen and her guests share their experience, passion, and strategies to help you crack the top producer code to reach new heights in your business. And now, here's your host, Jen Duplessis, Mortgage Mastery Mentor and head chick in charge of Kinetic Spark Consulting.
Hi, everyone. It's Jen Duplessis. Welcome back to Mortgage Lending Mastery. My guest today is David Corwin. I have to be very careful to say it the way I know how to say it. Deputy Director of Lender and Partner Activities with the USDA Rural Development Single Family Guaranteed Program. That part I had to read, David, to make sure I got it right. Just so everybody knows, I have a friend called David Corbin, so I didn't want to mess that up. David was born and raised in Endicott, New York. He has a bachelor's degree in economics and finance, and for 16 years that followed his graduation, he garnered a variety of private sector experiences, including finance and mortgage management, retail management, education, sales, and I can't wait for this one, as a musician. So I can't wait to talk to you about that. He began his career with the USDA in 2009, and his current role with national headquarters directs the efforts of marketing, training, and outreach for lenders and partners of the Single Family Guaranteed Loan Program. So welcome to the show. I'm happy to have you here, David. And it was a long road for us to get here, but I am happy that we're here. This is a very important part of our, both of our industries, because we have a lot of real estate agents listening in. We have mortgage people, title people. This is a very important part of our industries, in that it's important that we are giving back to those who are not being served like others, right? And the best way for me to say that. For a lot of people, when they think about USDA loans, they, I don't know, it's sort of like reverse mortgages, where I know enough to be really, really dangerous, so I'll just say I don't do them. So help those that are listening here understand why, or give some context behind why it's so important as a lender and even a real estate agent, if you're listening, to have that fiduciary responsibility in giving to all.
Certainly. And it's really not a complex program.
No.
It's really fits right in, just like FHA, VA. It's the third government program.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it is 100% financing, like the VA does, only you don't have to be a veteran. And there's just two main criteria. You got to the home has to be in an eligible rural area, and you have to meet the income requirements. Mm-hmm. Now, both of these are not very restrictive. If you look at our mapping online to see what areas are eligible, you'll see it's over 92% of the US landmass is in an eligible area.
Wow.
So the definition gets a little crazy, because of course it's hard to define rural for an entire country. What is rural in Wyoming looks different than what is rural in Virginia.
Yeah.
So basically it boils down to mostly a town. If it doesn't exceed a population of 35,000, good chance it will be eligible.
Okay. That's a really good way to look at it. Because I know, my husband is, I wouldn't say he's an expert, but whenever we had USDA loans, he took them, right? He took care of them because that was his expertise. I did something else. It was my expertise when we were working together. And, it literally could be that the house on one side of the street is eligible and the house across the street is not, or the house behind it is not. It really was that type of thing. And I think that, and honestly, this goes to Fannie and Freddie, with their low down payment programs as well. I think that sometimes it's the extra work that needs to be done to look this up to help a client just is not something that all loan officers want to do. So how do we change that?
Well, it's gotten easier over the years. I will admit, before I started with the government 13 years ago and I ran a mortgage brokerage, I wouldn't do USDA loans.
Mhm.
it was complicated. So when I came to the agency, one of my goals was, making this a program that people want to use, because the product is great. I mean, how do you beat 100%,
Right,
true no money down
right.
for anyone who qualifies? But the process was difficult.
Mhm.
It is way better now. We're more automated, have an automated underwriting program. So it is much easier. And the tools we have out there on the website, like the mapping program, it's
Yeah,
just like using a Google map. You hop in, you look at the shaded area. So if someone's going to go shopping for a home, just go look, okay, let me see in your area, are there any ineligible areas? And then if there are, okay, well, if you want to use this program, here's the areas you got to be
yeah,
looking in to be eligible.
yeah.
And
Tell
the
me about
income part is
go
the
ahead.
other
No, no,
complex.
keep going, keep going. The income,
As I
yeah.
said, the other requirement is you can't exceed a certain income limit. And what that is 115% of the
Mhm.
median household income for the
Mhm.
county that you're in.
Right.
And you'd be surprised, 115% of median household income, it's about 70% of the homes in the nation fall underneath that.
Wow.
As everyone knows, we have some income disparity in this country. So it's not that restrictive. The lowest that number gets out in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, for a family of four is 92,500.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
we're not talking super restrictive income limits here.
Yeah.
But it is the complicated part of this, which is why some loan officers don't want to get into it. And I get it. You're looking at two different income calculations. One, to see if they qualify for the program.
Mhm.
And then you're doing your normal income calculation to see what they can afford. Because to
Right.
qualify for the program, it's every adult in the household counts toward that limit, whether or
Right.
not they're going to be on the loan.
Right.
So that's
Does
the
it does
unique.
it count kids? I can't remember if I know VHDA does,
No,
working children. If their
no,
kids are working. Yeah.
yeah, no, a working child, so someone in school, even in college,
Yeah.
a child that's working and in school, no, you only count the
Okay.
first $480 of income, and the reason you do that is it offsets the $480 deduction that we do for children.
Right. Right.
So
Okay.
basically,
Gotcha.
no, you do not
Yeah, it
have to
makes
count
it
it.
nil. How is not the financing, but the funding going? I remember we used to submit loans and then they would sit until funding came in and then they would very quickly be underwritten. So what, and you were always just hoping that your loan was at the top of that pile. Tell us what's happened in recent years with funding. Is there any change with that? Is it still,
Yes,
a
that
congressional issue?
that has changed. Some years ago, I should probably know this year. I think it was a late 2000s when, or maybe it was around 2011. I really should know this number, but Um, that's when we put into place the fee that we charge, that upfront funding fee of 1%, which
Hmm.
can be rolled into the loan. And then there's an annual fee, which currently is 0.35. So the fees are very low comparatively speaking,
Oh
too.
yeah, no
Um,
question.
yeah. So those fees, those are always determined year by year based on any losses that we've experienced when we pay
Mhm.
out on our loan note guarantees. So it's budget neutral. So we have no limit anymore. Technically, we were given $30 billion.
Right.
Now we can always go back for more money if we exceed that. And every year when we ask for that amount, we set an amount above what we expect to do. So we do not have to go back and ask for more money.
Yeah.
But that would just be a matter of asking too. So the days of running out of money for the program,
Are
those
over.
are over.
Well, and this is
Yeah.
why it's important to talk about this because I pride myself on being up with everything, even that I haven't been in the industry. I pride myself on being, as far along as I can without having access to all the regs and stuff. Um, and I think this kind of goes back to the old days with real estate agents with VA and FHA, and they'd say, "Oh, I'm not going to do those loans because they're for people who this, that, and the other." Well, heck, our guideline, our maximum loan amounts are in the 7s and 8s in some areas, and so that can't be those type of people, but it sticks, right? It sticks. So that's why it's so important to be talking about this. How do you think, what do you think will change? Or maybe it already has, because I don't know when the limits come out, like the median income, I get that, but how are you kind of managing, I guess would the word be, managing the rapid appreciation that's happening? And while someone meets the criteria for the income, they're almost priced out of the market because in those areas, the values of homes have gone up just as much as other places. So how are you all managing that?
Gotcha. And yeah, so we don't have a limit on the purchase price of
Purchase
the home,
price, right?
but because there is an income limit And of
Mhm.
course, look at debt ratios, just like any other program.
Yeah.
Yes, there is
And
there is
county
a limit.
limits and yeah, for FHA and all that stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
So
like
have
you're saying,
you,
there's an affordability limit essentially. But
yeah.
yeah, most of yeah, we do, as I just explained, with the amount of land mass we cover, we do end up in what you might think of suburban areas. So we are still in areas that have been appreciating
Mhm.
significantly.
Yeah.
Um, Really, it's not that there's just no inventory right now, as you know. There
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
isn't an affordable.
Yeah.
So it's not that they've necessarily priced out. There just isn't the inventory there. If it was, homes can still be built for the right price, even though it's increased, which is why we
Yeah.
have the construction program. Um, but yeah, so with and like you were just alluding to with FHA and VA and USDA, we're all in that same boat that when the market's tight and there's a competitive market and there's multiple offers on the table, the government loans, the government offers get shuffled to the bottom.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it.
Mhm.
The real estate agents just say, hey, no, take the Fannie, take the Freddie. No, 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 you don't want the government ones. It's how it is. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but
Yeah. And it's, I've always been an advocate for the underdog. And I've always felt that, just because someone can put 20% down doesn't mean that they're the best client, because the other person who wants to do an FHA saved the 3.5 versus getting a gift. And right. So you have to look at that, you definitely have to look at that. When COVID happened a couple years ago, as we're recording this, there was a swarm of people that started coming out to the country. And, we've been living out in the country here for 19 years on 21 acres. And all of a sudden we have neighbors, right? We're seeing that we have more and more homes being built out here. They're very high end homes, but there's this swoosh of people coming out to the country because they don't ever want to be stuck in an apartment if COVID ever comes back or something else like it. Did you all see some type of an increase in volume during that period of time whenever everyone else was experiencing it? Or do you think
oh
it
yeah,
got lost in the shuffle? Okay.
no, that first year of COVID, we had our biggest year ever.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quite unexpected. Well, I don't think a lot of the market saw that year coming. And yes,
No.
we had our biggest year ever. And I think there's probably something to that. But considering it was the first year of COVID and this
Yeah.
whole migration to working at home
Yeah.
was just getting on its way, I couldn't say it was because of that. I think it was just simply a big year. And
Yeah.
like I said, migration out, I think, happened as COVID went, not right at the onset, probably.
No, 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 no. Yeah. Yeah. And I see you're working at home. Is this
Oh, yeah.
normal or is this
I'm
just
one of
today?
them.
You are one of them.
No, actually, when I took this new job with the national office, because that's changed too. A couple years ago, when I took this job,
Right.
that's because we changed. This used to be run state by state, even though it's a
Yeah.
federal program. So then that was changed to where now it's one national team. So lenders who work across state lines, that's another beautiful thing. If they haven't been in it for a while, you'll see consistency. You're going to one team for the whole nation, regardless of what state you're in. So you aren't going to get rules interpreted differently in different
Good.
states. One team. So yeah, when I took that job, that's what put me at home. It's just
Yeah.
coincidence. It was at the start of COVID.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's really, really important. I was an underwriter. In fact, my underwriting number was A421 for FHA. That's how long ago. I was one of the first delegated underwriters. And, I remember when we grabbed New Mexico and they had blue doors and they had these weird kind of fences. I can't remember the names now, but I would say that looks terrible. And they go, no, no, you can't touch them. And the blue door means this thing. And then I moved, and I was in Colorado, moved to Virginia, and everybody wanted termite inspections. And someone would ask for a termite inspection in Colorado. And I go, no, there's no termites there at all. No one does anything termite. So yeah, I love that you're saying that, because that does make it easier for people to be able to cross different states, different counties, even different regions in a state are very unique.
Yeah.
To specific areas. All right. So let's talk about the single close construction program that you have. And I know you have a rehab and repair. So let's talk about the differences between the two and what you're seeing as how people are utilizing these programs. Maybe you can give us some examples.
Sure. Sure. And the single close construction, and it's a great time for any lenders listening right now to get in on that. There are just a handful of lenders right now in the nation that are utilizing this program, and a couple that are trying to become the place to go for this because it hasn't been established yet. The great thing about our single close construction program compared to the other ones out there, our loan note guarantee, which again, we didn't discuss that yet, but so USDA guarantees the loans 90% and up to 90%. What it basically is, if you experience a loss, we do 100% of the first 35% of the loss based on the initial financed amount, and then 85% of the amount thereafter. So it's an incredible, it takes away almost all of the risk you have of doing one of the loans. So with our single close construction, the beauty is right at the signing, before a shovel goes in the ground, we put our guarantee on that loan. So everybody's covered. The lender's safe, the realtor can get their commission, and the builder building the home knows if anything goes wrong with the deal, they're still building the home to completion.
Yeah.
Their job is sound. So it's just great that everything is covered all the way along. And we've offered a second option, which is a securitizable option. So what that means is, instead of making interest only payments during construction, full PITI payments get made from a reserve account. So these are rolled into the loan. So the person, our borrower, many borrowers can't afford to pay both their rent or current mortgage plus that.
Right.
Especially USDA borrowers would find it hard. So that can be rolled into the loan, paid out of an escrow account. So because it's the full PITI payment being made from the beginning, that means the loan is never re-amortized, there's no modification.
Right.
So securitizable with Ginnie Mae, again, right from the signing of the pen before a shovel goes in the ground.
Yeah. And that's really important for those of you that are listening. If you haven't done rental loans, FHA renovation loans, where they're standard or the streamlined, any of that, I know that can be a lot to take in because it's a lot of information, but I think that's really important too, because if a loan officer or real estate agent is listening to this, they want to go out and talk to, a boutique builder or the one-off sort of spot builder that's like out here, all of a sudden this one builder's popped up and he's building all these houses around here, but not in a neighborhood, right? It's just like he's popping up. So if you want to go to them, this is a key selling point for them, is that they have guaranteed income for completing that home, no matter who ends up buying it, right? If something bad happens to the borrower. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so talk about the rehab and repair products. I imagine, is this a buy or a refi or both?
No, it is a buy.
Okay, so it's a purchase and rehab.
It's a purchase rehab. Yes,
Yeah.
We don't have a refi rehab. Nope.
Okay.
In fact, the only refinancing we allow is refinancing of our own loans. So a current USDA borrower can refinance to get a better rate when the market does so. But no, otherwise there's no refinancing into our program from the outside.
Okay.
So the rehab repair, just like the single close, again, before the work's done, you sign at closing, and before the work even begins, the lender's covered with the loan note guarantee.
Okay.
And you can roll in up to 6 months of payments. So again, the house isn't livable just yet, they can roll in up to 6 months of payments into the deal.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, and that's a single close as well.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Because some of them, they are, you can live in it, but they just want to add a garage or they want to, do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, you can do that kind of rehab too. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is this chattel or non-chattel? Is it, can we do landscaping or can we add more square footage, or do we have to stay within the footprint of the property? Is there a couple of different, and I'm comparing this to FHA standard and streamlined. Is there that difference in this as well?
Gotcha. Yeah, you can do landscaping, really anything that's necessary for the house. And if adding on to the house you feel is necessary, maybe you need more room for more kids or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, just obviously whatever it is you're doing has to appraise.
Yeah.
Because this is, again, no money down. So
yeah.
Can't exceed 100%.
It can't be the biggest, baddest house in the neighborhood. That's not going to happen.
Right. Well, we used to have those kind of requirements. Maybe you remember where we had a home had to be modest. It was too hard to define that. So we did away with that. Basically, modest is what you can afford. We have income limits. So whatever you can afford.
Yeah, that defines modesty. And
we don't do that stuff anymore. For pools, we don't have that pool restriction anymore. You can have a pool.
Oh, nice. That's nice for them. Yeah.
You can't use our money to put it in.
Right.
But if it's there,
that's a luxury. You can't do that. I remember that. We can't do luxury. Let's talk about current markets, because I know this is the big, thank you for the mechanics of some of USDA. Let's go to the mindset part of this. We have the affordability index has gone up pretty substantially with rates going up as well. So now people are less affordable. In fact, there was an NAR, I think it was NAR statistic that came out. Yeah, it was NAR statistic that came out that said that more than 50% of renters felt that they would never own a home in their lives. And that was the first time that exceeded 50% since they've been recording it, right, and doing the statistics. So there's a lot of people that are feeling deflated and like, I just give up. I can't do it. What do you recommend for our professionals who are listening and how they can be a voice of reason for people that feel that there's no option for them?
Yeah, and it is hard. And I don't know what the answer is as far as when someone needs a government loan, like we discussed earlier. How do you get,
Mhm.
how do you get your deal accepted over others in such a competitive market? We don't have the answer for that, but unfortunately. But realtors, they're just it would help if there were more who weren't afraid of our product. And
Mhm.
again, I was speaking from experience. In the past, I didn't want to touch this either. I get it. It used to be
Mhm.
really horrible to deal with. It's not the case now. I get it's still a little more intensive that we have that extra step of qualifying the household for income. Um, and that you still have to submit your file. The lender still submits file to our team, that everyone gets looked at by a live person. But since we have turned into this one nationalized team, things run much smoother. So now it's rare we exceed that 48-hour turn time.
Yeah.
And I know in this day and age, 48 hours seems like the world, but hey, 2 extra days to get someone in a home with no money down, it's really not, it's really not that bad.
Yeah. Are you, can I interrupt you just for a second? Are you doing a credit only decision for anyone? So that you know that at least from that perspective, they're approved from the financials perspective, and now they need to find a home that meets the criteria. Are you doing
No,
any of
it's
that?
it's
Okay.
still up to the
It's still
lender
full
to
lend.
do the
Okay.
underwriting. We
Gotcha.
don't underwrite. We just review. So
Okay.
the lender is trained in our product. They underwrite it. We're just reviewing to make sure that none of the rules were broken.
Gotcha.
Um, and
Okay.
that's gotten better too, because I know some underwriters might have used to experience, again, different things state to state, but now everyone's on the same page. It's a review, and that if
Yeah.
you use one of the acceptable methods of calculating income, we aren't going to come back to you and question that and say, no, you should have used this. No, it's your loan.
Yeah.
We are
Gotcha.
just reviewing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry about that.
No,
But
you're fine.
yeah, I just want to, yeah. So is not being afraid of it, learning how it works, and not going off of what the old way was and really learning that. So what else do you recommend? So for realtors, that's what you were saying is don't be afraid.
Yeah, it's really not that difficult to use. And some of the misconceptions too, we have two programs. Now our guarantee program is the big one.
Hmm.
And again, now we don't have limits on funding anymore. It never runs out. We have a direct program too. That does have limited funding. That is not budget neutral. It is a subsidized program. And it just has, I believe it's $1 billion a year for the whole nation.
Yeah.
um, which sounds like a lot, but that can go quickly.
It can go
And that has
quickly. Yeah.
stricter income requirements where you have to
Yeah.
can't exceed 80%. And what is it? It's subsidized. So that family, if they qualify, the government helps to pay for the loan by pretending the rate is 1%
Hmm.
and subsidizing the difference. So even though the rates right now are up to, I don't know, what are they, 4%, 4.5%,
5.
the person would five, okay, and the
It's
person would pay
5.
as if the rate is 1%, and the government is subsidizing the difference. And
Right.
they, when they sell, move out, whatever, they will pay some of it back. It will not exceed what the value is, so you won't end up upside down.
Right. You won't have any negative. Yeah. I can't even think of the words anymore. We used to know all those words when you were
Yeah,
upside
it's like a
down.
neg-am type situation.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not a
not like,
negative. Well, it's definitely not a negative, but even we won't be chasing you for the difference, whatever that is. How come I can't remember all those words we used to use all
right.
the
So
time?
the worst it would get for them is
Yeah.
they'd have to give up 50% of whatever profits they realize. So
Yeah.
if they end up selling the house and they're going to make $20,000,
They got to
but
give
they
up
owe
10.
30 in subsidy, they're only giving up 10, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. It's sort of like
So
a
it's a
shared
great
equity.
program.
It's just shared equity. It's like, we're going to do this for you. So you're going to share the equity with us. That's really it. It's a
Very
shared.
similar, yes.
Yeah.
Now that
Very,
one is a little more complicated. You
no
are working
question.
directly with USDA staff in your
Yeah.
area. It's not an automated underwriting, and it can take longer. There's often lines of people waiting to get into the program. I don't believe too bad. I'm a little out of touch of that now too. it depends state to state too. I think
Oh, I
sometimes
imagine depending on areas that are growing and still have the
Sure,
rural
yep,
designation, but it's growing and yeah, right.
right.
That's probably your sign. If there's a long list, there's something happening that area is probably changing. Okay, so what advice do you give to loan officers who some people, honestly, with rates being as low as they've been for so long, there's a lot of people who've been in the business for 10 years and have never even heard about it. Believe it or
It's
not.
true.
Yeah.
It's true. I knew very little about USDA when I worked during the subprime days,
Mhm,
when
mhm.
anybody with a pulse could get a loan for 100%. So why did you
Yeah.
need the government?
Yeah.
Um, so I was not real familiar with USDA when I started working for them. So I
Yeah.
get that. And I know
Yeah.
out of all the lenders out there, there are plenty of lenders who don't do USDA. It is still a great time to get in because again, you can't beat the product
Right.
100% for
Yeah.
anyone who qualify. And so many people qualify. Like I said, the majority of land in the nation, about 70% of the households by
Yeah.
income.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that qualify,
Yeah.
just a matter of lenders wanting to do it. And we can make it simpler. We have, again, better trainings out there now that are
Mhm.
online, and my team does them individually.
Right.
Even with lenders that have been using the program for years, there's
Yeah.
turnover all the time, new processors, new
Right.
underwriters. We do individual trainings all the time.
Yeah. What
And
is
we can
your
walk
hot
you through.
what's your hot market? What do you think are some hot spots in the country? If someone's listening to this, they're going, I'm going to look in this, but if I'm
Right,
sitting in New York City, I'm not going to be doing USDA.
right.
But what are some hot spots?
I wasn't expecting that question. Not because I'm not on the production
Right,
side,
right.
I just don't see. I mean, I know the states that are always
High,
commonly at the top.
right.
Um, and I'm not sure if it means the market more than because they're always there, than it was just maybe a better job of that state over the years, making the relationships with the
Ah, it
lenders.
could be.
They
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
understood the program. But
Yeah.
yeah, Tennessee,
Mhm,
Tennessee, Michigan, North
mhm.
Carolina,
Yep, parts of North
really
Carolina. Yeah,
East is pretty stays
yeah,
pretty active.
yeah, yeah, and probably the West is just probably lack of knowledge of utilizing it because there's plenty of places there, in
Oh, yeah.
Salt Lake, outside of Salt Lake, Utah, I mean, not Utah, Idaho, there's some areas there that, definitely would. So again, if
There's
you're
still plenty
listening,
of land in California, but I think the pricing out there kinda keeps our
well, there's
program at bay.
pockets. There's
There
some
are
little
pockets, yes.
pockets,
There are
little
pockets.
pockets of places. I know I'm coaching someone who said, yeah, my average loan amount is like 210. I'm like, what? What happened there? Just a little pockets, that are connected to Idaho and things like that. So okay, so that gives us a little bit of that. So I think if you're listening or watching this could potentially be a niche for you that helps you go forward. And one of the things, I mean, I'm my wheels are spinning already because I'm naturally a salesperson, and I'm thinking, my gosh, here people always say, well, I have to move further away from DC because I can't afford to live close to DC. And these outlying counties, it's the commute that's the problem. It's the commute. But you could live inside, right? And I'm not going to say the Beltway, but just closer in, pay higher rent, take forever to save money to get some other type of loan, or you could decide now that you want to move out, get a lesser priced home, take advantage of today's rates because they're going to continue to go up for the next 18 months, take advantage of today's rates and work from home if it's possible, right? If it's possible, there's a niche there for those types of clients that are working from home and sitting in suburbia.
Yep.
And that's what you want to do. And it's easy to find a needle in a haystack if all you talk about is looking for a needle in a haystack. Right? It's marketing. That's really all it is. Yeah. I absolutely love that. What other things would you want to talk about? We know that housing inventories, containing rising amount. This is what you said to me, a rising amount of uninhabitable stock. So the rehab is definitely good. I'll tell you, I bought a house in Thayer, Illinois for $9,400, a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, because it wasn't inhabitable. Right. And so people are definitely doing that. So what, if you were to step back into your mortgage shoes, right, into your broker shoes, if you were in this market right now, you know it's competitive, you know it's also competitive on the rate perspective, you might be going, I've had the best 2 years and now what am I going to do? I hear all the time people saying go back to basics, and it's just driving me nuts because you should already be doing basics. You should never leave basics. Don't go back to them, just always do them. I don't know why people say it. And they're saying, I don't know. Do I go this fork in the road, or do I go this fork in the road? Do I stay in this industry? Can I compete in this manner? What do you say to them for taking on this type of a product and introducing in the market and being the straw that stirs the market?
Let's say if you don't have the product, it's absolutely necessary to have in your tool belt. But for those that do, and even for those interested, the single close construction, we've been pushing it the last couple of years because we all knew this was coming.
Yeah.
You knew the refi boom was going to end. You knew the glory days were going to end. You could see inventory dwindling. You knew you're going to need new building. And to position yourself where you can be one of those few lenders that know single close construction, and probably not just our product, all the products out there needs to be new building. I'd say and again, the rehab repair fits right in with that too, that there is stock out there some places that, okay, well, there's a house, but it needs a lot of work. I know
Right.
FHA's got a program for that too.
Yeah.
So being in that position, because of the lack of inventory, and to have affordable inventory, you got to build or rehab.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a
I
big
think,
part of that's manufactured too, and we do allow manufactured housing. And
yeah.
I know everyone has that stigma with it too, and I know some lenders are trying to find their ways to deal with that. One lender is focusing on cross mods
Uh-huh.
that incorporates a lot of the stick-built features, but still saves you a lot of money and time in production.
Yeah.
And one lender is doing that by one of the towns that burned down completely out there in California. They're paying to have models built. They already bought land and they're building some of these cross mod models on there so
Yeah.
people can see in person. This doesn't look like a manufactured home. This looks
Right.
like a single level, single family home. It doesn't. So get rid of the stigma. It's a
Yeah.
perfectly good home. You can save you 30% off a stick built.
Yeah. Well, and right now that's a big deal because lumber costs are so high, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
this is, I know it's a problem because my husband works for a lender that supports one of the big builders in the country, and they have carted all of their supplies from south to north to complete the homes that are in the $800 to $1 million range, and say, sorry, people, that your house is 200 to 400. We're not gonna be able to get your house done because we lack supplies. Right. So it is a supply and demand. It is definitely risk, or their venture out is $1 million sticking out there versus 200,000. I totally get it. But it does create a problem for lack of housing. And you and I were just talking about this not behind the scenes, in the green room, about a colleague of mine who is building tiny house development communities, the full community of, it's not, well, those are kind of manufactured, right? But they're, they're permanent foundation, tiny homes in a subdivision that has a live work atmosphere, playgrounds and all that good stuff, just to try to find an affordable way for people to get into homes. I want to ask you another question. What is your take on what will happen with commercial facilities? Do you see that as being something that will be converted into affordable homes in some areas?
I read one article on that some months ago, found that interesting. And now I don't follow commercial, especially since working for the government. I don't do commercial lending now.
Right,
So,
right.
but you're right. I mean, what are you going to do with all these buildings? Offices are moving out, so many more people working from home. So can't lease that space anymore. What are you going to do with it? And of course, stores switching to online. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know.
I don't know. That would make sense. I have a feeling the way those would go is apartments, not just
Right. I
rental
know.
units.
I know. Well, and because rents have gone up, what, 12.4% year over year, we don't want to sell them. We just want to rent them out because that will
Yep.
be the thing. Yeah. And I think that's going to cause, some issues as well. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with as we're kind of closing out our time together?
I guess just to all the listeners, hopefully you learned a little bit about the program. And if you're still interested, again, reach out to us. We have very easy to use website and tools on there. And again, my team, click of the button from the website, you can reach us, and we're happy to do individualized trainings. We're happy to talk more about any one of these subjects you want, single close construction, whatever. We'll walk you through anything.
That's awesome.
And that's the same with realtors, just in case if there's any realtors too.
Yeah,
Want to learn more about we do
absolutely.
those trainings too.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I was going to ask you is if a loan officer wanted to have a USDA training for a group of realtors, is that something your team would consider doing, is saying, hey, let's just, or does it dive in too much to the technical piece? Is it more like the...
No, we do that as well. We've had plenty of lenders reach out, especially within this last year. It's become more of a thing, I guess, again, struggling for business, trying to create value. So these training things to bring in their realtors, and yes, we are happy to do the presentations there too. And we always tailor it. Yes, if we're talking to realtors, I know they don't want to go down into the weeds of underwriting. They want to know the basics they need to know to talk to their clients. So we tailor our trainings to whoever we're talking to.
Okay, awesome. That's such a great thing. And we will have all the links in the show notes, etc. All right, before we leave, you said you were a musician. Let's talk about that. I love getting to the personal.
A long time ago.
Yeah. Tell us about that though. What did you play? Do you still play? What's the deal?
I don't. That was the 90s, and I was actually in Northern Virginia. I lived, a few areas out there. I lived in Herndon, lived in Manassas and Centerville, played out some areas there, and then down in Charlotte, North Carolina, moved down there for a bit. I played guitar, sang, wrote music.
Wow.
I've long since retired. My daughter's taken over now. She's way better.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I was going to go somewhere with you on that, but I mean, I imagine, Dave Stevens. Mortgage Bankers Association. Well, he's president or the CEO of the Mortgage Bankers Association, worked for HUD.
Oh, okay.
Worked for HUD under Obama. He was assistant director of secretary of HUD, right? The assistant deputy secretary, whatever they call that, of HUD. And a dear friend of mine. And, I thought for sure that you were starting to tell me when you told me the 90s, I remember what he did in the 90s with music. And so I'm thinking, oh boy, I wonder if the two of you were doing some stuff together, but And I was waiting for you to tell me that you had long hair and you were doing the whole, thing.
I grew up in the 80s, so I loved hair bands. So yes, I did have big Bon Jovi.
Even if it were air guitar, right?
I did have the hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So did I, by the way. So did I. I had the poofy hair.
Yeah, the Aquanet, right?
Yes, that's it. The whole bottle of it in the bathroom. Yeah, that's exactly.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly it.
I remember those days.
Oh my gosh. Yep. Well, they're coming back. I think a little bit of it's coming back, but David, it's just been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I hope that, by the downloads that we have here and listen, for all of you listening, share this with your community, share this with your realtors, this particular episode. And I always say that, when we have an episode that's really, really good for you to share, you should be sharing anyway, but it's great to share this because it's good for you to, expand your value proposition, as you were saying before. And this is a perfect opportunity to do it. So my hope is that we have more downloads than we normally do. Usually we have 3,000 to 5,000 a week, but hopefully we have some more downloads just because of the topic here to help you guys, really see your mission to the fruition that you're looking for. So thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. So everybody, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to us. Please be sure to subscribe if you've not yet subscribed. And don't forget to go to YouTube to subscribe as well. And also you can text the word Jen to 26786 and get a free copy of my book, Launch: How to Take Your Business to New Heights. So again, that's text Jen to 26786 and you can get a free copy of my book. And I will be talking to you all later. We'll catch you next time on Mortgage Lending Mastery.
Thanks for listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Be sure to subscribe to hear more sales tips, ideas, strategies, and tactics to help you with your personal and professional growth to multiply your results in record time. And if you like what we're doing, don't forget to give us a rating and review so we can continue to bring you the best content possible. Wanting more beyond the podcast? Join our Mortgage Lending Mastery membership community, where you will find extended interviews with our favorite guests, weekly training, tips, and insider secrets, fireside chats with Jen, free content, meet, share, and collaborate with other members, and so much more. Click the link in the show notes to learn more about this exclusive content. Mortgage Lending Mastery is an Industry Syndicate charter podcast. Industry Syndicate is the first podcast network specifically for the mortgage and real estate industries. Get the Industry Syndicate app in the App Store or Google Play today.